From all the responses that were given, some of these responses were positive and others were negative. So for those which were positive, they were in support of the document, and those which were negative were denying the contents of the document. So I'll begin by presenting about what the Bishops' Conference of Germany said, represented by the Bishop President. He said, I very much welcome this document, and I'm grateful to the pastoral perspective it adopts. Thus, in Fiducia Supplicans, it is explained that in principle it is possible and permissible for the ordained pastor to respond to the wishes of couples who ask for a blessing for their partnership, even if they do not live in all respects according to the norms of the church. So this means that couples who do not have the opportunity to have a church wedding due to a divorce, for example, and same-sex couples can be given a blessing. So this is what the German Bishops' Conference said. Then I also picked another response or reaction from Austrian Bishops' Conference, represented also by the chairman. Thus he said, I'm very much grateful for the document, and I believe that the church recognizes that a relationship between two people of the same sex is not entirely without truth. There is love, there is fidelity. There is also a need, shared and lived fidelity. This should also be acknowledged. Basically, you can no longer say no to it. That's what the Bishops' Conference of Austria said. Now in Africa, I picked what the bishops of Nigeria say. And thus the Bishops' Conference of Nigeria assures the entire people of God that the teaching of the Catholic Church on marriage remains the same. There is that would go against God's law, teachings of the church, the laws of our nation, and the cultural sensibilities of our people. Then I also picked the one for the bishops of Zambia, which says, in order to avoid any pastoral confusion and ambiguity, as well as not to break the law of our country, which forbids same-sex unions and activities, and while listening to our cultural heritage, which does not accept same-sex relationships, the conference guides that the declaration from the Dicastery for the Doctrine of Faith of December 18, 2023, concerning the blessing of the same-sex couples be taken for further reflection and not for implementation in Zambia. We come home, bishops of Zimbabwe. They say, in respect of the law of the land, our culture, and for moral reasons, we instruct pastors to desist from actions that may be deemed as the blessing of the same-sex unions, bringing confusion and even scandal to our people. Then I picked the one which was given by SECAM. And it says, in their 5-page response, the SECAM members do not consider it appropriate for Africa to bless homosexual unions or same-sex couples because in our context, this would cause confusion and would be in direct contradiction to the cultural ethos of the African communities. Then I picked one from Asia, that is from Kazakhstan, and it says, to bless couples in an irregular situation and same-sex couples is a serious abuse of the most holy name of God, since this is invoked upon an objectively sinful union of adultery or of homosexual activity. Then I picked from one of the groups, that is married fathers. At least it's not a conference, but it is also of interest that I had to pick this from the Marian Fathers of the Immaculate Conception. So they say Marian clergy are prohibited from blessing irregular relationships, unions, or same-sex couples in the United States and Argentina, or while traveling abroad. We see no situation in which such a blessing of a couple could be properly and adequately distinguished from some level of approval of the irregular relationship, leading to the scandal of the faithful. Such blessings, which are liturgical or spontaneous, would work against the legitimate care a priest or deacon owes to the flock. So these are the responses or reactions from various conferences and from one group that I picked. Now, having all these positive and negative responses seem to create a confusion, as what our previous speaker has noted. But the area of morality is of concern here. Why? Because moral norms and truths should be objective in all areas, despite race or culture. So the moral implications of the document may vary from place to place. Those who are positive about the document seem to feel that the church should not neglect her members, especially when they want to obtain the mercy of God. Those who are negative about the document are, however, worried about the erosion of the faith, the erosion of the cultural norms that fosters morality among the people. For example, in African societies, we all know that most of them, homosexuality is treated as a disorder. Thus, it is against natural law, meaning to say it lacks some reasoning. Africans also believe that human life is generated through a marital union between a man and a woman through marriage. So, hence same-sex marriages are contrary to natural law. So, if a man takes another man as a woman, it is like patronizing another man. Thus, it shows some signs or forms of degrading another person. Robert Mugabe once dismissed homosexuality by saying it is an African, and even dogs know their wives. And from Uganda, Yoweri Museveni also said, the problem is that, yes, a person might be disoriented, but the problem is yours. Now, one should not try to recruit others. If you try to recruit other people into a disorientation, then we are going to go for you and we'll punish you. This is all about the worry of the cultural norms of the African people. And when we look at the issue of faith, the church itself also teaches that gay people must be accepted with respect, with compassion, and sensitivity. And that every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. And this I quote from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 2357 to 2359. And also, as a matter of faith, Catholic moral theology of sexuality says all sexual acts must be open to procreation by nature and express the symbolism of the male-female complementarity. Thus, sexual acts between two members of the same sex cannot meet these standards. And thus, homosexuality thus constitutes a tendency towards this sin. Instead, gay people are called to practice chastity. Now, implementing the document, they've got a lot of moral issues here as it is presented from the reactions. As we see that those who are against or those who are negative still feel that homosexual acts are grave sins against chastity and expressions of the vice of lust, because homosexual acts are included among the grave sins against chastity that is in the teaching of the church, from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And one of the big mistakes is that the document mentions the issue of the blessing of a couple. Thus, the word couple brings a lot of irregularities. To conclude, I say, the concerned Christians, most of them feel that since homosexuality is regarded as intrinsically disordered by both the church and various cultures across the globe, it is good to note that a disorder can be tolerated. But, however, it should never be promoted. With this, I thank you.